Welcome back, Paul, Catalina, Garrett Ross. The Monday recap from Week 10. These are the games that, obviously, we talked about Ohio State and Penn State. That was the biggest one. But there were a lot of games that affected the playoff this weekend. A&M went out, crapped the bed against South Carolina, absolutely destroyed in the second half. Look, South Carolina jumped out on them. A&M got it back. And I thought after halftime, I said, this thing's probably going to be 34-27. A&M comes out and wins but nope. South Carolina took it to them in the second half, shut out A&M. They didn't pee a drop offensively in the second half. The Gamecocks win 44-20, thus putting A&M back in the still their first SEC conference loss. But I just know as someone who's watched all of them for my whole life.
That was one when we were doing our picks last week. I kept going back and forth on because I kept thinking, A&M's coming off that big win against LSU. To me, it is a rivalry game now, and they do not fare well after rivalry games. They just do not. South Carolina is a really good football team that should be at least 2 wins better than what they are. Lenore Sellers ultimately cost him the game with his trying to make plays that just weren't there, and ultimately he turned the ball over. It cost him against LSU. It cost him was it Bama that cost him against as well?
They have a 3-point loss to LSU and a 2-point loss to Bama.
And they should have beat both of those teams.
Yeah.
So, I'm not surprised to see them beat Texas A&M. I'm surprised to see them beat the hell out of Texas A&M.
Yeah.
I was kind of shocked by, but that was one where I really kind of gone back and forth on. But it was a great win for South Carolina. They're just kicking themselves because they could be in the mix for the playoff. They just didn't handle their business early on.
A&M should be 9-2 with New Mexico State and Auburn coming up. They should win those 2 games. And then Texas, Thanksgiving weekend, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. But, they're like, oh, hello, trap game. What's this? Chewbacca, grabbing the meat, and Chewie, no. They're right in it. Right in it. So, Georgia got a scare from Florida.
Yep.
Florida's now 4-4. They have Texas this week,
job.
A game they're not going to win. DJ Lagway not ruled out yet against Texas. I think that is gamesmanship because he looked pretty severely hurt. It's a hamstring. Those things, even if it's not as bad as you think, a hamstring still, why risk it with a 4-4 team?
Right.
I get you're trying to save your job, Billy, but also this is how you also save your job. You don't ruin the next superstar of the program's career trying to save your job. You just, hope, do the right thing and hope for the best. But Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, the next 3 for them. I don't think he's going to save it, but for a while there, they were going to haul off and save his job. Carson Beck, by the way, came into this year ranked as the number 1 quarterback. I'm going to tell you right now, I would not be surprised to see him come back to Georgia next year because his draft stock might have plummeted.
He's not. He is exactly
he's throwing a
that.
ton of picks.
He's throwing a ton of picks. He is a game manager at best. He's not very much different than Stetson Bennett. He's a little more athletic. But yeah, I've been really disappointed with how he's kind of played this year. And you see all the talk around him was all of that talent he had. And while Georgia's still good, they have a lot of talent and playmakers. They don't have the depth that the playmakers that they once had that were kind of could mask those inefficiencies from Beck, and just starting to see it. And I think people are starting to wear and dial in on Georgia, and they're not intimidating as they used to be anymore.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of all coming into one with them.
Look, there's no super elite team.
Not at all.
Even as much as I waxed rhapsodically about Oregon a second ago,
you can beat them.
Still, they're vulnerable. Everybody's vulnerable, which is the best thing that could have happened to college football.
Yep.
This is the best part of all this, is that at least for now, no one is like, oh my God.
Yeah, we don't have to run through Bama or run through Georgia.
No,
yeah,
everybody has an Achilles heel. Iowa State, I knew this would happen eventually, and I knew it would
Yes.
happen just this way. I did not think it would happen against Texas Tech.
If it's the
because
most
I thought it was a
fitting
bad matchup, but like here you go. I mean,
I would look. I didn't think that Tech would get them, but if you think about all the distractions last week, right, with Tech, like they had to come out and make a statement. They made themselves look pretty bad. Whether it's right or wrong with the technical issues and everything, the way they handled that made them look pretty bad, and they needed to come out and rectify it. They did just that in Ames. They looked completely dominant at times, which was fascinating to see. But, yeah, that was one that you knew somebody was going to get the Cyclones. I honestly think that BYU is going to get got in a couple of weeks. I think you're going to see a situation with them where Arizona State sneaks up on them after this bowl game, after this rivalry game with the Utes this week. But, yeah, you knew it was coming, but the way that happened was pretty impressive by Texas Tech.
Yeah. Another game in the Big 12 that affected the playoff. Houston upsets Kansas State in Houston, and Kansas State now – on the outside looking into that championship game and really needs to win Farmageddon now.
No, they do.
If not, look, they've got to keep winning, but their next three are Arizona State, not a gimme, Cincinnati, not a gimme, and Iowa State and Farmageddon, not a gimme.
Yeah.
Obviously. So that one is huge. The Big 12 completely shaken up this week. Tech, Colorado, like all these teams still have a fighting chance in this thing if it continues to get muddled. And don't look now. Houston's 4-5.
They're the weirdest team in the Big 12.
If they go 2-1, they're in a bowl game. I don't know if they can do that. I may pick them this week against Arizona.
I think that would be a safe pick. I think they could beat Arizona.
I think maybe Arizona's not playing great right now. So if they're on the way up, I think we're going to have Zion Chris this week on the show. We have Taj Brooks. We have Taj Brooks today. At 4:30. So make sure Tech fans, everybody, Big 12 fans, every college football fans, but we've got the man himself, Taj Brooks, today. So very excited about that one. SMU, very much in the playoff hunt, although I think they're being very disrespected on their ranking, as they absolutely took it to Pitt. Ole Miss back in the discussion after a huge win over Arkansas. Who am I leaving out of this? Oh, yes, I forgot. Clemson, not going to make the playoff now. Not going to do it with these two losses. They might, but let's face it, a 10-2 ACC team with some of the things with their schedule. Their schedule is really bad. They got walloped by Georgia, and by all intents and purposes, Louisville beat them pretty bad. Like, I know it came down. It was a 12-point game, but Dabo Swinney made a very, very, very bad decision at the end of that game, which wound up not mattering because once they scored it, they didn't score again. Right. But he could have cut the lead to 11 instead of 12 and didn't even try to, just kick the extra point. So I'm a little bit baffled as to why. So is Bob Wischusen and Louis Riddick. Yeah. They were like, what is going on here? So – yeah, that was a crazy one.
What do you make of SMU right now? What they've been able to accomplish? Like we haven't really seen a team make this adjustment go up and it be as smooth.
Brandon Marcella wrote about it. They're the best team transitioning into a new conference ever. Like nobody has ever had this good of a first year. But look, they have a great offense. Their defense is way better than advertised at the beginning of the year. They really do. They get after the quarterback. They do everything well. They have a very good coach in Rhett Lashley. They've been waiting for this opportunity for a long time. Yep. They're taking it. They're absolutely – they're kind of the opposite of Oklahoma, right? Yeah. Oklahoma's been a team that, could have kind of gone to whatever conference they wanted to forever. They made that decision that year one they're in the SEC, and year one in the SEC they're not good at all. They're not good at all. SMU, was wanted this opportunity for a long time. It's like they understood, like, hey, year one we have to make a statement. Whether that's winning the conference, competing for winning the conference, it's got to be one of those things. The people in this conference need to know, especially since we're taking no money on the TV deal, we're paying our own way and all of that. We have to make sure that they know that we are not messing around. And SMU has certainly certainly done that to this point in the season at 8-1 and undefeated in the conference. And I'm hoping. Look, I'm hoping that them and Miami are the ones we get to see. I think there's a very interesting story in that Miami's been in the ACC for a while now. They've never won it. SMU's not been in for a while. Mm-hmm. They've only been in for a few months technically, and they could win it. I think that's a very interesting storyline for a championship game. I don't know. Like, I honestly don't know who would win that game. Like, I don't know who I would pick in it. I would probably lean towards Miami, but Miami's defense is good enough.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop short of calling it bad. It's not bad, but Louisville scored a ton of points on them. Duke scored a ton of points on them. Their offense is the best in the country, and that's what saves them from having to have this big-time defense. They've got some good defensive linemen. They've got a couple good defensive backs. They're not really that great at stopping the run, though. Mm-hmm. Duke had them, Duke back and forth for a little bit, and then it's just depth and athletes that got them, So, and they could have lost to Virginia Tech and Louisville already. Mm-hmm.
That's the thing is, like, they've won some good close games.
Yeah, and SMU is better than Louisville or Virginia Tech.
Oh, yeah.
So I think they can avail themselves well against Miami in the playoff. We'll take one more break here. We'll come back. We'll kind of wrap up the week, and then we'll be off getting ready for a very big show on 365 Sports.